Greetings. Well, we got the much anticipated Sapphire review. We have the 159 Sapphire, which I've been using for a little while, but it still flies pretty much brand new. And we have the Trilogy Challenge 170K or gram. This is a 172 and I have a 173. So a heavier weight Sapphire. So we're going to compare these two and see how they fly. The Sapphire comes in at a speed 10, glide 6, a turn a -2 with a fade of 1.5. Let's check out those numbers and let's see if there's any difference between the heavier weight versus the lighter weight. All right, here we go. These are both in the gold plastic, which is a premium plastic. Here's a look at the rims. These are 10 speed, so the rim's not too big, and the Sapphire is kind of known as like the beginner's driver or kind of the slower arm speed driver. So we're gonna start things off as always with some warm-up shots here, just throwing the Sapphire out here on a hyzer. So right away you can see that -2 on just kind of a 60 to 70% arm speed, straightening out right away. And again, we're just playing a hyzer here, trying to get a look at, trying to get warmed up and also just get a look at what the disc does when thrown pretty slowly. So the 70+g, I have a 172 and a 173 here. The gold burst Sapphires, beautiful discs. They feel really good. Lots of questions like, will they fly completely differently? And that's what this video is for. So a little background. When I first started throwing the 159 Sapphire, I started using it to develop a forehand, and I've been playing for quite a while, but I really wanted to get a forehand that I guess you could call serviceable, where I could step out from behind a tree and throw something anywhere from 250 to 300 feet. So that's where I started throwing these blue 159s. And obviously Trilogy Challenge has brought this 170g, a little bit, about 20 grams heavier, a little over 20 grams heavier. And I guess one of my theories is with the lighter disc, your arm can actually get up to speed faster because it's so light. So you're gonna get that disc up to speed a little bit easier because it is light. So here we just have some distance smashes. I'm probably throwing this at about 80 to 90%, 100%. It's definitely gonna go to the right. And you can see the big air bounce here. The thing about the Sapphire as far as a distance driver is it does have that very predictable fade at the end. Now we just played the Trilogy Challenge and I found the Sapphire to be a really good distance driver. We only had, I think, 3 holes over 300 feet, but you can see off a hyzer release at like 80 or 90%, it straightens out. And those shots are probably at about 360 feet up against the edge of the woods there. And here you see the spread, and they all ended up pretty close to one another. So no real difference in the distance so far. Now these are on an anhyzer release and the wind was kind of coming from left to right, which causes them to kind of slow down and then fade out at the end. But giving you a look at how the Sapphire will fight out of that anhyzer release with, say, a tailwind. I would say that the Sapphire for me is a very good tailwind driver because it has that -2, which makes it play as a more stable disc with a tailwind. Here's a look at that heavier Sapphire. And there is a noticeable difference when throwing them. And I really feel like because the other one is a little bit over 20 grams lighter, your arm can actually move faster, getting that disc up to speed faster. Here we go here on a couple big drives. These are going to be distance drives here. I was hoping to get them somewhere in the 400-foot range, but I feel like the wind was not very consistent for it. It was kind of bouncing around, no real consistency. A couple of my drives when practicing were just like pushing it down to the ground or it'd fly up real high. But we did get that out to about 410 feet. The other one was a little bit shorter than that. And then the heavier Sapphires, very similar line. They turned over and they still faded back at the end. 386 feet. And again, I can't go full power here because then it would probably turn over into a roller. This is throwing with less power and kind of finessing it to get this full flight. That one got to about 390. So they're all in the same ballpark, and you'll see that they're all pretty close to one another out here in the field. You know, no clear winner in that distance contest between the 20 grams. I will say throwing into a headwind, having that heavier weight probably would be beneficial. Here we're going to go with some forehands. I have thrown these blue Sapphire up to about 300 feet on a forehand. Here I wasn't getting them quite as far, but just to get a couple measurements out there and a couple looks, kind of throwing a forehand flex on this shot. But so the reason I was throwing the light ones, because it's less like torque on your shoulder when throwing the forehand, so I wanted to use those to kind of develop it. And here you can see with the heavier one, I'm not used to flicking the heavier one. It was harder for me to really get into, so the second one I got a little bit more arm speed into and got that one out to about 270. But not too big of a difference on the pattern of the flight, but getting it up to speed and possibly what it like hurting your shoulder could be something to think about. Here we have hole 18. It's about 336 feet. It's a simple hyzer around the edge down here. And just want to see if I can throw all four of these pretty close with a very slight tailwind, although the wind was kind of bouncing around a little bit. Here got that one over a little bit, but it had some really interesting fade. These discs are really nice, and if I think they're kind of a step up from, say, an Escape, which is a 9-speed that's pretty easy to throw, or the Diamond or the Jade in the Latitude lineup. This is like the next step up for all of that. Here you see these shots. They're all right around that 336-foot range. And we had one that might have been a runner, although I can't completely tell. So again, just going back to the roots of me throwing a Sapphire, it was to not put too much torque on my shoulder. And just to be able to throw this shot right here was the only reason I was throwing the Sapphire, which got me very interested in it. I do recommend, if you're trying to develop a sidearm, the Sapphire seems to be able to take the torque of the sidearm, where other discs kind of might flip over or get wobbly. It is a good disc to forehand with some touch and get some distance out of it. So very consistent as usual with the Trilogy plastic lines, the Latitude 64 Sapphires. the 170 plus gram versus the 150 class gold plastic. This is a very fun review to do. I will probably continue to forehand my light ones, although the big question is, do I put the heavier ones to backhand in the bag? That's all for today. Thanks for watching.